Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the Assembly Committee on Judiciary to order. Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod.
Here.
Assemblywoman Cohen.
Here.
Assemblywoman Gonzalez.
Here.
Assemblywoman Hanson. Assemblywoman Hardy.
Here.
Assemblywoman Kasama.
Here.
Assemblywoman Krasner.
Here.
Assemblywoman Marzola.
Here.
Assemblyman Miller.
Here.
Assemblywoman Nguyen.
Here.
Assemblyman O'Neill.
Here.
Assemblyman Orentlicker.
Here.
Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong.
Here.
Assemblyman Wheeler. Chairman Yeager.
Here. Everybody is present. That means we do have a quorum. Good morning to those joining us here in Carson City. Good morning to those joining us on the Zoom and to those who may be watching on the Legislature's YouTube channel. Welcome to day 114 of the 81st session, which means we are definitely in the home stretch. We only have one more Monday in front of us. So before we get started on this morning's agenda, just a few quick housekeeping matters. These will sound familiar by now, but if you're in the room with us, if you could please silence your devices. If you're on the Zoom with us, if you could please remember to keep yourself on mute unless you're speaking. For anyone presenting or answering questions this morning, please remember to state your name before you speak. We do expect courtesy and respect in our interaction with one another. We don't always agree on policy. That is perfectly acceptable, but we need to make sure we're being respectful of one another, of the legislative process, and most importantly, of our very hardworking staff. And then finally, many members up here will be accessing this meeting using multiple electronic devices, so please don't see it as a sign of disrespect or inattention if members appear to be looking away at times. So committee, we have one bill on the agenda today, so obviously we're going to take that bill right now, and I'll open the hearing on Senate Bill 165 in its second reprint. That bill establishes provisions relating to esports. Senator Keffer, welcome to the Assembly Judiciary Committee. We'll go ahead and let you present the bill, introduce your guest, and then I'm sure we'll have some questions for you.
I'm sure you will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Ben Keffer, representing Senate District 16. I'm very happy to be here today to present Senate Bill 165. I'll note that this is probably, as far as I can calculate with 6 days left, probably the last time I'll be presenting in front of a committee in my legislative career. So it's an honor to be before the Assembly Judiciary Committee today. Senate Bill 165 is a subject matter that is new to me. I've been learning a lot about esports in the past 6 months or so. And I've become a little hooked. I think it's really cool and something that the state of Nevada is uniquely positioned to take advantage of from an economic development standpoint. So Senate Bill 165 is, in its very, most basic form, an economic development bill. It's an effort to bring esports events, tourism, and business to our state, and that's plain and simple what the bill is. My vision is that by working with the industry, we can create an ecosystem that will attract publishers, event organizers, players, teams, broadcasters, and anyone else who wants to be a part of this industry to our great state, and particularly Las Vegas. Nevada has a long and successful history of working closely with industry to help them grow and create space safe for them to thrive and operate. A recent example of such a relationship is with mixed martial arts and the UFC, and we've seen the success that has had. So this bill is an effort to take the next step in that type of partnership and doing it with esports. So in its most basic form, esports is competitive video gaming. And if you look at what this bill does is that it creates a technical advisory committee to the Gaming Control Board to help ensure that esports, when they are wagered upon in Nevada, are held to the highest of standards. So esports is a contest of multiplayer video games where viewers watch events either in person or online through such services as YouTube or Twitch as the two most popular broadcasters. And it is one of the fastest growing markets in both sports and entertainment, both nationally and internationally. Total esports viewership is expected to grow at a 9% compound annual growth rate in the next few years, up to 646 million viewers internationally by 2023. Esports consists of businesses, both large and small, operating a competitive sport through different business models, ones that are both vertically integrated and through a distributed infrastructure. Video game publishers create their own games and then license their intellectual property to esports tournament organizers or run tournaments themselves. Tournament organizers create events both large and small under agreements with publishers, and these events are both professional and amateur. In some leagues owned by publishers, teams are created through franchise agreements similar to the NFL or NBA. But like all sports, casual fans drive the industry, and they are critically important for the future of esports and its success. A little perspective on how popular this is. If you look at the 2020 World Series, Game 6 of the 2020 World Series had 12.6 million viewers. 2 years earlier than that, in 2018, not even the championship, but a mid-season invitational for the League of Legends had 60 million unique viewers, 5 times more than a World Series game. So this is an incredibly popular sport internationally, particularly in Asia and Europe, but also growing here in the United States. Revenue in the industry is more than $1 billion. There is growing investment in different segments of the industry on a regular basis. And the number of jobs that the industry creates has increased from 2015 to 2019 by more than 340%. So new businesses are being built and growing, jobs are being created, and I believe that Nevada is uniquely positioned to take advantage of that as a destination for tourism and growth. So I'd like to introduce now the gentleman sitting to my left. You'll see him on my right, and he is, he has been widely known as the deadliest man on the internet. Jonathan Wendell also goes by the name Fatality. If you look him up online, the I is a number 1. And he became a professional gamer in 1999, went on to win international stardom in gaming and 12 world championships he can claim in 5 different games. He's been featured on MTV, 60 Minutes, in the New York Times, in Forbes, and now the Assembly Judiciary Committee. And Jonathan is, most importantly for our purposes here, a proud Las Vegan. And so he volunteered to come talk a little bit about his experience in the industry and what he sees as a future for esports in Las Vegas. Jonathan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Wendell, for the record. Chair Yeager, thank you for having me today, and everyone here. So my name is Jonathan Wendell. Originally from Kansas City, Missouri. Moved to Nevada to Las Vegas in 2008. I always saw Vegas as a great place to bring esports to, and I've always been very passionate about esports. To tell you a little bit about my life story, I played a lot of video games, of course, but also played a lot of sports along the way. And I just love the competition of esports because I look at it very much like traditional sports. So throughout my life, I've been able to travel around the world playing video games. A little life story about me is I saved up $500 and traveled down to Texas to play in a tournament, and I ended up winning $4,000 when I was about 18 years old. And I was like, wow, I won $4,000 playing a video game. This is pretty cool, right? And so it was really funny, but 2 weeks later, a company invited me to go to Sweden to represent USA and play against the top 12 players in the world. And I was really fascinated by the idea of it, and I was, okay, I'm going to go. And my parents weren't very supportive back then, but I was 18, and I'm a grown adult, I can do what I want. So I told my dad I'm going to Sweden, and he kind of gave me the blessing and so forth, and I went to Sweden. I played against the top 12 guys, and I won 18 games straight, losing 0, and becoming a world champion at the age of 18 in Stockholm, Sweden. After that, basically, I went on a tear where I got sponsored and started traveling around the world, making over $100,000 my first year as a professional gamer, and basically pioneered, the concept that you can make a living playing video games. So I look at, like I said, I look at esports very much like traditional sports, and I look at a lot of the parallels that Las Vegas can bring to esports in that regard. So I'm very happy to be here in support of the bill, and thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Jonathan. Knowing that we are T-minus 6 days until the end of the legislature, Mr. Chairman, I've pared back some of the sort of dog and pony show that I prepared over in the Senate Judiciary Committee. I did want to at least make reference to one of my presenters from over there, because I spoke with him yesterday, and he wanted me to make sure that he was at least represented on the record for me, and that was Paul Hamilton. Paul Hamilton is the CEO of the Greenspun Corporation, actually, and in his other role owns two esports franchises for the Call of Duty League and the Overwatch League, which are owned by Activision Blizzard. That's a vertically integrated esports league. It's actually based out of Atlanta, and he and his ownership group owns the Atlanta FaZe and the Atlanta Reign, which are, as I referenced earlier, franchises in a league that's set up similar to like the NFL. So the publisher, Activision Blizzard, owns the league itself, and then they sold franchises all across the country and actually internationally, I believe, for this in particular, this league for these two games. So he spoke in support in the Senate and wanted to be here today, but had a conflict that he couldn't get out of. So he wanted to be represented. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll just really briefly walk through the bill. It's been through several iterations and a lot of negotiations with the video game publishers, represented here today by Alyssa Nave and with the Entertainment Software Association. And I think she'll come up and say what she has to say earlier, but we've gotten to, I think, a very good place where this bill, I think, provides what we're looking for as a state in terms of establishing a group of thought leadership to help position Nevada as a destination long-term for esports, and also addresses a lot of their concerns. So really quickly, I would point you to the preamble of the bill, which really states the intent that Nevada should be a home to these types of businesses and competitions as an economic development driver. And getting into Section 10.5 of the bill, it creates the Esports Technical Advisory Committee to the Gaming Control Board. You'll see Chapter 463 referenced. And the board shall appoint membership. It includes game publishers, hosts, participants, and broadcasters, and whoever else they really deem necessary. There are some definitions for who some of those folks are in subsection 7. And ultimately, this body is designed to be true industry experts who understand the different components of putting together esports events, tournaments, where there may be some risk, and how an entity like Gaming Control would want to address that risk if there are going to be wagers placed on events in the state of Nevada. I think it serves the public purpose of protecting our residents and visitors when they're making wagers, but also allows us to put our foot forward as a thought leader in this space. So that is the bill. It is effective July 1st of this year, and Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Senator Keycaffer and Mr. Wendell, or I don't know if I call you Mr. Fatality, or Mr. Wendell. What do you prefer?
People know me as Fatality, so
Fatality.
That's the more popular name.
So the record will reflect Fatality is in the room. And given that you're the most dangerous man on the internet, I'm glad that you're not here virtually with us today and that you're actually here in person. I feel like that provides us a measure of security. But thank you both for presenting. We do have a number of questions from the committee. I wanted to just start with a couple while I had them on my mind. Esports obviously is really exciting, and I just wanted to confirm that this is true. And Mr. Wendell, Fatality, you might be the one who knows this probably more than anyone, but I was under the belief that we have some kind of esports arena or area to play in Las Vegas. I wanted to ask about that, and then I also wanted to ask if you had an opportunity yet to see the Twitch Lounge that is at the Allegiant Stadium. I don't know if you're aware of that, but I had a chance to see that, and I thought it was a really interesting concept, so just wanted to ask you about those two.
Yeah, I mean, in Las Vegas, there's been a lot of, we have the esports arena there at the Luxor that I've been lucky enough to be a part of. I've actually got invited by the Golden Knights to play Mario Kart with a bunch of kids. So that was really fun with Alex Tuck and some of the other players. And then, but esports has been, it's kind of, you can boot up almost in any hotel, any kind of like banquet room. That's even in my career when I played back in the 90s till, throughout the 2000s. It was kind of a normal way that we had esports. But, yeah, I mean, can you repeat the second part of the question?
The second part of the question was just if you had a chance to see the Twitch Lounge, and Allegiant
yeah.
Stadium really isn't open to the public per se, but I just wondered if there's some opportunities there. It seemed like a really cool concept when I had a chance to tour the arena.
Yeah, so I actually got to experience the Twitch Lounge a little bit during the NFL draft party. I got invited to be there at the stadium, so I haven't got a chance to partake in the Twitch Lounge specifically, but I have seen it on site, and it's really great to see that mainstream sports are more embracing Twitch and embracing esports in general. So I want to partake in it more.
Thank you so much. So we have, as I said, we have a number of questions. Here's the order that I'll go in. We'll go to Vice Chair Wynn, Assemblyman Wheeler, Assemblyman Orntlicker, and then Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod. So Vice Chair, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your presentation on this bill. It's always exciting to see that. I have young kids, obviously, that are into video games, and seeing them just be involved in everything from coding to playing to kind of the new social interaction, especially during COVID, I think really helped them get through the past year and a half, to be quite honest. I know it helped us. I kind of see this bill, and I don't know if this is the intent, is to kind of ensure that integration between gaming as well as esports. I like to see kind of the progression. I see more of these esports rooms kind of taking over some of the poker rooms, and so kind of the evolution of gaming to attract like a younger player and younger people to the state of Nevada. But just to be clear, the legislation empowers that technical advisory committee to opine only when needed. Is that like when there's complex issues associated with that wagering and esports where they kind of meet? Is that correct?
Thank you. For the record, Mr. Chairman, Ben Kiekeffer, through you to Assemblywoman Wynn. The technical advisory committee will be responsive to the needs of the Gaming Control Board as it's designed. So if GCB decides that there are emerging issues within the industry that need to be addressed through regulation or rulemaking or whatever process they decide to use for whether they're going to accept wagers on events, that's when I think they could call the committee into action to provide the technical expertise that goes into this, because there are a lot. Esports competitions have a lot of complexity to them, right? You're talking about computer systems. They could be online. They could be wired through a LAN in a specific location. There are things that need to be addressed, like, are you using your own mouse and keyboard? Is everything provided? So there are all kinds of technical issues that are probably best left to the experts to discuss from a public policy perspective. And so those are the type of things that I think they would want to weigh in on from a standpoint of where those guidelines should be for when Gaming Control wants to approve wagering on events.
Thank you. And Chair, may I follow up? I think this question is probably for fatality, and it does come from my son. He wanted to know what it was like to have the Tesla suit on when you were playing.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. So my name is Jonathan Wendell, Fatality. So I actually, just a couple days ago in Vegas, there's a company called The Factory, and they're working with these Tesla suits, which basically replicate, if you got shot in the game, you would feel it. So I wore the Tesla suit, a couple days ago, and it was pretty wild. There's like all these different spells. You could pick up these different spells with the Steam Index. It's like this virtual VR system, and I picked up this one that was like it was like electricity, right? And I picked it up, and it literally shocked my whole arm. I threw it away, and I said, "Screw that one." But when you experience it, it's really like, you're like in the virtual world, and you're experiencing all these things. And like, I threw a cold spell at myself, and I think the future is like where this suit will heat up or cool down, and really give you the full experience of being in that environment. So it was definitely exciting, and it tingled everywhere. You get it was wild.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I think I have a really good idea for next session's committee party now. We'll go next to Assemblyman Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the Senator kind of answered most of my questions with his answers to the Vice Chair. The only other question that I have is, my colleagues may find this weird, but I'm a free market kind of guy. So I'm wondering, why do we need more regulation on this? Why aren't we just allowing them to go on, and create and be innovative? And
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to Assemblyman Wheeler. And I'm shocked that you're a free market guy. So I will say this, the bill started in a little bit of a different form, and it's evolved somewhat over time, and I think it's evolved in a really good way. And it really, it continues to respect these companies and this industry's ability to innovate, and it doesn't really provide any new regulatory authority to anyone. Gaming Control has full authority to oversee events that have wagering in this state right now. So what this does is it ensures that we're bringing to the table experts from the multiple different components of this emerging industry, this growing and emerging industry. To say it's emerging probably does it a disservice, but to bring them to the table, to let them know that they are wanted, that we care about them, we value their opinion, and that we're not going to regulate from the top down, but that we're going to bring their expertise into consideration so that we work from industry up, I think is the model that we're trying to offer here, which is, I think, a better way to go about things.
okay, thank you. Follow-up, Mr. Chair? Thank you. I'm not even sure if there is like a drop tax that we have for casinos. Is there a state tax on this, on any winnings, et cetera, now? Or is that foreseen?
I couldn't answer that. Mr. Morton's on the Zoom if he has an answer to that from Gaming Control's perspective. But if there's not wagering on it, he probably wouldn't know. So I can't answer that right now. If it's income based, then you pay taxes on it. I'm sure Fatality pays his taxes on his earnings.
Thank you. All right, let's vote it out, Mr. Chair. What the heck?
Okay, we'll go next to Assemblyman Ornt-Licker.
Thank you, Chair, and David Ornt-Licker for the record, Assembly District 20 in Clark County. Thank you for bringing forth this bill, and always good to see economic development initiatives. But it's an unusual economic development initiative, so I just would like you to play out some more, because usually we're asked to subsidize a facility or tax breaks, and it's nice that we don't have to do any of that. But it's just about making sure gaming, the integrity of the wager, that's the heart of this. And so I'd like to hear a little bit more about the connection of, is this about when people are deciding where the hosts are deciding where we're gonna put our competition, they want to be in a city where the integrity of gaming, is that a part of the factor as opposed to the weather, the hotels, the other things? Or I could see this is about the wagerer, the tourist who comes to place bets, and it doesn't matter where the competition is, they just want to know that there's no cheating going on. So is it both of those? If you could just kind of elaborate on how focusing on the gaming board connects to economic development.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to Assemblyman Ornt-Licker. I appreciate the question. So one step back, I think about economic development in a couple of tranches. Right? One is to support our existing economy. And the biggest piece of our economy is the hospitality and tourism industry, primarily along that drive on the Las Vegas Strip. And the amount of viewership and participation that's happening within esports and the demographics of those participants and viewers is just a prime target for a new customer to Las Vegas. I wear a lot of cufflinks, and I always try to sync them up with what's happening for the day if there's something appropriate. So today I'm wearing my Stardust cufflinks, right? Thinking about what Vegas used to be like and thinking about what it can become in the future. It's gone through tremendous transition. That transition will continue. So the goal, right, is on this front to attract more events to Las Vegas because that will attract a new group of visitors to our state. And so this advisory committee can help achieve that through in a couple of different ways. And the first is ensuring the integrity of the events from a wagering perspective. And I think that will grow in importance within this industry long term. You're starting to see more and more investment within wagering components of esports businesses. And for example, the Call of Duty League allowed for the first time a sponsorship from a wagering platform. So over the long term, we as Nevadans understand the value of wagering as an eyeball attractor, right? And it will continue to be an important part of the growth of the industry, in my opinion. So as that happens, having the best gaming regulatory structure in the world provide that imprimatur of approval is, I think, incredibly valuable to attract events. But I think there's another piece to it from an economic development standpoint, and it's not just supporting our existing industry in terms of in terms of tourism and hospitality, but diversification as well. These are tech companies, in their most basic form. And within tech, right, I like to think of niches, and this could be a really powerful niche for Nevada to go after as a destination. Video game publishers, esports hosts and event organizers, B2B platforms. I think there's ample opportunity. So if we are able to assemble the thought leadership that could come along with this technical advisory committee in our state, and position us as a destination for these entrepreneurs and these innovators, then we could also meet that second area of economic development, which is diversification.
Okay, moving right along. Our next question is from Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod.
Thank you very much. And my daughter, too, I texted her, and she's all caps, like so excited. So thank you for making me look cool for a sec to my 14-year-old. Speaking of 14-year-olds, so while we were answering questions, I was kind of I looked at the Hyper Lounge at the Luxor and was getting actually a lot of my questions answered just from their frequently asked questions, and I was looking at the events. I guess I'm confused with the age, because it looks like there's most of them are about a $700 prize is what I'm seeing from the Luxor, just like kind of on a daily thing. But obviously we have a gaming age of 21 in Nevada, so it looks like if you're under 13, you have to be there with your parents. Can you participate at that age? And is that an issue at all? I'm just kind of confused on that. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ben Kekeffer for the record, through you to Ms. Bilbray Axelrod. So there are, and I think what you're referring to really is casual competition, right? And that there's some prize money associated with that. And I don't know the exact rules associated with those types of competitions and age restrictions or anything like that. But there are no wagers really being placed on that. So that's separate from the casino gaming side of the house. It's really an entertainment and amenity attraction for the Luxor through the HyperX Arena. I think that's what you're referring to, right? But I know that they do have standard rules that they have in place, and if it offers you any comfort, because it's happening within a casino, Gaming Control still has the ability to enforce anything that happens on those properties, is my understanding. So I may not be directly answering your question, but I'm trying to dance around it a little bit.
Thank you. You were doing a great little dance.
Thank you.
No, I mean, you had mentioned you were 18 when you first went. I'm just wondering, are we, our kids, so it looks like most of the buy-ins well, see, I'm even calling it a buy-in. So, so to order to play, it's about $10, it looks like. And then usually the prize that's split, it says among the people who make it to the final round is $700. So what is that looking at? How many, I guess, so could a 13-year-old pay that $10 and possibly be part of the winner? I'm just trying to wrap my head around this.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Wendell here, Fatality. So, when I was a kid, I used to play in tournaments when I was 13 as well. I used to play in the Blockbuster tournament that they had. I played in tournaments when I was between 15 and 18 all the time, and I would pay, $10, $20 into those tournaments. But mostly, like, my winnings back then were, like, winning internet for a year for free, or winning a cell phone, or, really it was just a piece of paper saying I was champion. For kids that are playing games today from, like, 13 to 18, they're playing games like Rocket League. They're playing, like, typically more simpler games, but I don't know. I've always looked at it you're paying a price to have an experience, and if you get some kind of prize winnings for that, it's almost kind of like a gift more than it's not really gambling. Most of the tournaments I played in, I would pay like $75 to enter, $125 to enter the tournament, but the prize money was from sponsors. They weren't really like my money that was being gambled. It was more about the sponsor fulfilling the purse. It's not like poker.
Thank you very much. That actually, you didn't dance at all on that one, so thank you. No, I appreciate that. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
And if we could, I think I want to go to Mr. Morton on the Zoom to add anything he'd like on that question as well.
Thank you, Chair Yeager. Mike Morton with the Gaming Control Board for the record. Just to add a little more color to Assemblywoman Bilberry Axelrod's question, we're talking about a bifurcated system here. So you have the esports tournament or game going on where a player pays, let's say, the $10 to enter the tournament and maybe will win a small prize. That is not gambling. That is a game of skill. Gambling are games of chance. What the Gaming Control Board regulates is when a sportsbook wants to allow people to place bets on those tournaments, just like when the sportsbook puts up, the NCAA tournament on the board for people to bet on. So the 13-year-old playing the video game is not gambling. They're paying for the experience to play the game. If the sportsbook wanted to put that League of Legends tournament up on the board for patrons to bet on, you would have to be 21 to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Appreciate that. A few more questions yet. We'll go next to Assemblywoman Cohen and then Assemblywoman Kasama.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I think Mr. Morton kind of covered my question, but I just want to make sure that we have enough flexibility compared to other states as this industry grows and as we're doing economic development around this industry, that we're not going to be kind of beat out by other states because they don't have Gaming Control Board the way we do that type of thing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ben Kiekeffer for the record, through you to Assemblywoman Cohen. And you raise a really important point, right? And it was one that we had a lot of debate on over on the other side when the bill was in an earlier form that had more of a regulatory layer over the industry more broadly. And I think that what you see before you today really addresses those concerns by really trying to still assemble the thought leadership, but making it in an advisory capacity to Gaming Control Board and not really amending their regulatory function as it currently exists. So I hope that answers your question.
Assemblywoman Kasama.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator and Fatality. My question is just kind of an overview for me to understand better. So if you have, it's a gaming tournament now and you've got a pot of money, $500,000, is it taxed, or what does the state collect currently? Is it similar to like a slot machine winning where somebody wins and they get this big purse of money and then they come and remove the taxes from it before they pay out to you? Is it handled the same way on the pots of money for this?
Jonathan Wendell, thank you, Assemblywoman Kasama. So basically, when I won money throughout my career, I just, it's income for me. So that was my source of income. So I just paid taxes on, how much it cost me to fly everywhere and go to all these tournaments, but also what I won, and I just paid the taxes on it. I wasn't like professional athletes getting taxed in different cities and so forth so much. I imagine it will eventually evolve to that. But through my time, basically, when I had winnings and so forth, I would just pay taxes on it as income.
And that would be on the federal, that would be the
Yeah.
federal level. But currently, are we doing anything on like the state level for pots of money that are won if it's held here in Las Vegas at a lounge?
Ben Keekever for the record. I don't have a good answer for that question, Ms. Kasama. I apologize. I don't know. I'm not good enough to win tournaments.
Well, I'm not either. I've only donated slot machines. I've never won and never had anybody collect tax for me, so I don't know how it works. So thank you.
And Assemblywoman Kasama, if you have played slot machines, then you have indeed paid your state income tax, so thank you. Are there? Rarely, but still, we thank you for your contribution. Any other questions from the committee? Assemblywoman Hanson?
Thank you, Chair. Good to see you both. Hello. I'm just curious, this thought just came to my mind. Are we looking at this market as it grows? Is this being more of a venue for adult gaming, or are we looking to capture a youth market?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ben Keekever for the record. When you say youth, I want to make sure that I'm clear about what you're. I mean, I'm not looking to attract new people to Vegas who are under the age of 21. If that's what you're suggesting, I want to make sure I'm clear about that. I mean, I want eligible customers, right? But the demographics of the fans and profiles are largely in their 20s and 30s, and that is a demographic that I'm sure that the resort corridor would love to have walking through their doors on who are new. Right, and I think that also allows for the development of new international markets. Right, I mean, if we were to host a League of Legends championship, it could fill Allegiant Stadium for 3 days, and probably every little bit of convention space up and down the Strip in association with it. These are huge events that would draw new customers to Vegas who are not coming now. And it's a younger demographic primarily, but I don't think of it as a youth demographic.
Assemblywoman Wynn?
Thank you. I just want to clarify, because it seems like there might be some confusion on the committee members. There's people that are participating in the sports, and I liken it to like an NCAA tournament where you have underage, like people that are participating in the sport of skill. And I see that as esports as being a skill-based like sport, I guess, that is, just like a soccer tournament or any one of these other skill-based like, activities that we're looking at. And the individuals that are fortunate enough to become professional, like yourself, they're being taxed like they would any other like form of income, like personal income. Is that correct? And then what this bill attempts to also address is those people that are now wagering and gaming on those particular sports. Is that correct?
Ben Keekever for the record, Mr. Chairman, through you to your vice chair. So yes. But to be clear, we already allow wagering on esports events in Nevada. They would be approved on a case-by-case basis, I believe, by Gaming Control, and so that's already happening on a small level. But the bill, you're correct, is to provide more insight for Gaming Control over those events themselves.
And so, like, for example, Fatality, I know you're retired from, like, competition. So you, in your capacity as someone over 21, can now go in and wager on those, and you would be taxed like someone that had gaming winnings. And so that would be done through, wherever it is that you won that. Is that correct?
Ben Kiekever for the record. Yes, that's correct. If you're wagering on an esports event through a sports book in Nevada, you get taxed just like if you were wagering on the NCAA tournament.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have further questions from committee members? Okay, I'm not seeing further questions. Senator Kiekefer, Fatality, thank you for presenting to us this morning. I'll ask you to sit tight for just a minute. We'll take some testimony on the bill and then have a chance for any wrap-up comments. So at this time, I'm going to open up testimony in support of Senate Bill 165 in its second reprint. We'll start here in the room in Carson City. Please come forward if you'd like to testify in support. Mr. Diss, would you like to go first?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Andrew Diss for the record, Vice President of Government Affairs for Morello Gaming. We operate the Sahara in Las Vegas and the Grand Sierra in Reno. I wanted to come here today and testify in support of Senator Kiekefer's bill and give you all the perspective of an operator. I think Assemblywoman Wynn put it right when she made the distinction between being able to participate in a game of skill but also be able to make wagers. I think the easiest way to think about it is March Madness. We have a whole lot of talented players in the tournaments leading up to March Madness from the Pac-12, from the Mountain West Conference, who are not 21, but they are participating in a game of skill that you are able to wager on in this state. And so that's just one example of something that we already do. Assemblyman Wheeler asked about, robust integrity protections in the free market. In this instance, look at the Nevada Athletic Commission. So when you look at a big prize fight in Vegas, you have Floyd Mayweather. He wins the fight. He's got all his guys behind him holding up all these different belts, IBF, WBA, WBC. The reason there's all those belts is there's all these different leagues that need to be regulated. And it's very similar to what's happening in esports already. And the Technical Advisory Committee, part of their role is to make sure that everybody's meeting a certain set of standards so that we as an operator who are offering wagers on that event have a sense of security that everything is on the up and up. And so in this instance, we think it's going to be a benefit to the industry. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Diss. We do have one question for you from Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong.
Thank you. Chandra Summers Armstrong for the record. So one of the things that I'm hearing consistently is a change in the demographic of the people who will be attracted to this type of activity. So I think I've got kids your age, Fatality, and they would probably dig this, right? And I have one that's younger. But when we're talking about the people that will be attracted here, what is an institution like the Sahara, how are you all adjusting your mindset about this new demographic of guests? Because it's not like, someone's coming for their wedding. We're talking about young folks who are going to come, in groups and are going to want to participate. How are you changing your mindset about this new demographic of visitor?
Andrew, just for the record, Mr. Chairman, through you to Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong. So it's something that we deal with every day. We have several different types of events that are family friendly. We cater to all ages. So it's not a new question that we've had to think about. We're currently building a new entertainment venue. It's the Magic Mike Theater. It's going to open up later this summer. But when we started design for that theater, we did it in a way where it's basically going to be plug and play, where you can have different kinds of events come in, such as esports. It's instead of a typical theater where you have seats all facing one direction looking at a stage, the stage is going to be in the middle and all the seating is going to be around it, arena style. If we would have the ability to host tournaments for kids of all ages or the people of age, because my understanding, and Fatality can correct me if I'm wrong, is with these events, you generally have different age groups. So I don't know if I'm getting to your question, Assemblywoman, but we offer these types of events that cater to everybody already, and so we don't feel like we would have to change much in our approach.
Thank you, Mr. Diss. Appreciate it. Mr. Keith?
Good morning, Chair Yeager and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Dylan Keith with the Vegas Chamber. We'd like to thank the sponsor for bringing forward SB 165, as it will improve the climate of esports and bring in a new group of tourists that may not normally visit Las Vegas. The Vegas Chamber supports the creation of this commission, as we have seen the success of our other members in industries like combat sports after similar legislation. This resulted in thousands of new tourists each year, and with them increased revenue to our state. Through this piece of legislation, we will diversify our economy by supporting an emerging industry in Nevada, bringing a new and diverse group of tourists. And we'd like to thank you, Chair, and members of the committee for your time, and we urge your support on SB 165. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. Still staying here in the room, we'll take testimony in support. Anyone like to testify, please come forward. Mr. Ross, welcome.
George Ross with Carrera, Nevada, on behalf of Geeks. Geeks is very much in support of SB 165. We would like to thank Senator Kiekeffer for working with us on this bill and urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Mr. Ferraro, welcome.
Nice to see you, Mr. Chair, members of the Judiciary Committee. It's a pleasure to be here for the first time this session, and unlike Senator Kiekeffer, I suspect I'll be back. I'm appearing today on behalf of the Nevada Resort Association, Greg Ferraro. We began having conversations with Senator Kiekeffer last year about this concept of an emerging industry that we think should have a home and a place in the state of Nevada. We're always committed to opportunities to broaden the invitation. And broadening the invitation is what helps keep us competitive, keeps us attractive, and helps keep us interesting. So with that, Mr. Chair, don't want to belabor the point, but we supported Senator Kiekeffer's development of this concept, the introduction of the bill, and its status today before you. We think this is an important step for our state to continue to broaden the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferraro. Anybody else here in the room in Carson City who'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 165? Okay, I don't see anyone else coming forward. How about on the Zoom? Is there anyone on the Zoom with us who is in support? It might just be Mr. Morton on the Zoom this morning, so I don't see anybody else turning a camera on or saying anything. BPS, could we go to the phone lines to see if there's anybody there who would like to offer testimony in support, please?
Yes, Chair. To testify in support of Senate Bill 165, press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. And we will start this morning with the caller with the last 3 digits of 101. Press star 6 to unmute yourself, and then slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. This is Treasurer Conine. I wanted to call in support of this bill and thank Senator Kiekeffer for his work. We think that esports could be a very large piece of our forthcoming economic recovery. And on a personal note, I remain hopeful eternally for the GoldenEye tournament that I was kept out of as a child. So thank you, and please support this bill.
Thank you, Treasurer Conine. If anyone's out there and you're planning on doing another Mario Kart tournament, would you please invite our Nevada State Treasurer, Zach Conine? BPS, do we have anybody else on the line who'd like to testify in support?
Once again, to testify in support of Senate Bill 165, press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you, BPS. I'll now close testimony in support. I'll open it up for testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 165. Is there anybody here in the room with us in Carson City who'd like to testify in opposition on Senator Kiekeffer's final bill presentation of his Senate career? I don't see anyone coming forward here. I don't believe we have anyone on the Zoom in opposition. BPS, could we please check the phones for any opposition testimony, please?
To testify in opposition of Senate Bill 165, press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 165, press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you, BPS. I'll close opposition testimony. I will now open neutral testimony on Senate Bill 165. We'll start here in Carson City. Ms. Naveworth, welcome to the committee.
Thanks, Chair Yeager, members of the committee. It's so good to be in Assembly Judiciary today. I want to, hello, there goes my testimony. Fine, got it.
And
I want to just,
would you please make sure to state your name, please?
Alyssa Naveworth for the record, on behalf of the Entertainment Software Association. I want to start by thanking Senator Kekeffer. He has been tremendous in working through these issues associated with this new and evolving economic development area here in Nevada. I will say that esports has actually been in Nevada for over a decade, and they want to come to Nevada more. They're excited to engage with Nevada and believe that Las Vegas and Reno are the destinations that they would like to come to, and that's why it was so important that we worked so closely with Senator Kekeffer on a new revised version of SB 165. This version, as we see it, strikes the appropriate balance between pushing an industry out of Nevada with over-regulation, but also ensuring the integrity of the industry when it comes to the gaming that goes on in Nevada, as we are the platinum standard when it comes to wagering. There have been a number of references to a commission in the supportive testimony. I just want to clarify that in the first version of the legislation, there was a commission that would have regulated the internal rules and regulations associated with the various games under esports, and that has been replaced with a technical advisory committee that's specific to the intersection between wagering and esports. And the reason why that is and why it's so incredibly important is that every game is a sport in and of itself. So if you have play one game, there's a league and they all play that one game. Games that have similar components, whether or not it be Mortal Kombat or the games that involve some sort of gaming issues, or if it's a sports game or a driving game, those games have specific rules and regulations specific unto themselves that often don't even cross over within the same genre. And those rules and regulations, which have to be held at the highest and most platinum standard, because that's the only reason why anyone wants to play in a game, are the intellectual property of the publishers themselves, which are the members of the Entertainment Software Association. So it was very important to us that we didn't expose what makes the magic of esports to regulators that might necessarily not understand that there is not parity between the games themselves, but at the same time ensure that when wagering does occur on esports in Nevada, that it is appropriately regulated and that there's a resource that is has a specialized understanding of the esports area, whether or not that be publishers or the folks that are interested in the technical advisory committee. And so I just wanted to clarify that, because that is where the work that we're really into this, and why we're so grateful for Senator Kekeffer. And I just want to flag for the committee specifically Section 1, Sub 4, which specifically says that the committee may not request or require the disclosure of proprietary information. That's incredibly important to us. We're very grateful for that from Senator Kekeffer, and that they shall provide recommendations as necessary to safeguard the integrity of esports when wagers are placed at such competitions. Again, we want to thank Senator Kekeffer. He's been amazing. Thank this committee and this body, and I'm open with any questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Assemblyman Wheeler.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Naveworth, you said that they really want to come to Las Vegas and Reno. They don't want to come to my district in Lake Tahoe? I mean, I may have to just pull something here.
Assemblyman Wheeler, again, for record, Alyssa Naveworth, they want to come to all of Nevada, and they are here, and they're excited to expand and make Nevada one of the premier destinations for esports. I think it was either Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong or Assemblywoman Wynn said it best when we were talking to them about this, that the esports competitions are the new poker rooms of the future for Nevada and Las Vegas, and we have the ability to attract a whole new generation of folk that want to come and take advantage of all the things that are great about Nevada, including your district.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Do we have any other testimony, or do you have a question? Assemblyman O'Neill, please go ahead.
I don't know enough about the esports to make a statement, Chair, but I do have a question. Seriously speaking, when you talk about baseball, football, basketball, they all have commission leagues that oversee all the various, the SEC, the Big Ten, the East Coast, Mountain. Is there a commission, maybe I missed it, is there some overarching commission that ensures rules that the standards are being met in there to ensure that there is no, for lack of a better word, hanky-panky going on?
Thank you, Assemblyman O'Neill. Again, for the record, Alyssa Naveworth on behalf of the Entertainment Software Association. I will answer this question with the best of my ability, but I also will follow up with you. It is my understanding this. Each game in and of itself is a sport. So if you take video game A, video game B, and video game C, that's like saying golf, basketball, football. And within the games leagues, which are all organized under various ways, many of them have their own league commission. It depends on their various business models. So as a result, there are those that fight for the integrity within the games themselves, again, comparing apples to oranges. And the reason why, and they want to ensure that their games and rules are at the highest value, aka you cannot cheat during them, because otherwise gamers will not want to compete within their own leagues. Because if a game is malleable to cheating, then it is not an area that people want to game in. Does that make sense?
I think so. Thank you. Thank you, Chair, for the time.
You're welcome. Any other questions from the committee? Okay, I don't see additional questions. Thank you for your testimony in neutral. Anybody else here in Carson City who'd like to offer neutral testimony? All right, we have a full room, but nobody coming forward for neutral. How about on the Zoom? Mr. Morton, did you want to offer neutral testimony, or were you here for questions?
I was just here to answer any questions the committee had.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Morton. I don't believe we have anyone else on the Zoom with us. BPS, could we go to the phone lines to check to see if there's neutral testimony there, please?
To testify in the neutral position on Senate Bill 165, press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in the neutral position on Senate Bill 165, press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you, BPS. I will close neutral testimony. I will now invite our presenters back up to the table for any concluding remarks. And Senator Kekeffer, I hope you had an enjoyable final hearing in front of Assembly Judiciary. I did not excuse you from using the formality of going to the chair just because I thought it would be like old time's sake, and they probably made you do it when you first got to the building. So with that, please, any concluding remarks?
Absolutely, I appreciate it. Ben Kekeffer for the record. Mr. Wendell, is there anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up?
No, I think, if you want to be good at games, you got to play a lot. So a lot of practice.
All right. Well, I wrapped up my practice legislating here, Mr. Chairman, and I got 6 more days to try to reach perfection. We'll see. But I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the committee and your questions, and I think we can do something good for the state. So let's go.
Thank you so much to the two of you. I will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 165, and you may want to stick around because we're going to go right into a work session on Senate Bill 165 committee. I do have the permission of the Speaker to move bills out of committee without waiting our customary 24 hours, given that we are on day 100-something in this building and time is of the essence. So I have been informed that Assemblyman Wheeler would like to make a motion. Assemblyman Wheeler?
Make a motion we do pass if they go to Lake Tahoe.
We have a conditional motion to do pass. I think we all want to go to Lake Tahoe at this point, to be honest. So hopefully we'll have a tournament there. And I see a motion from Assemblyman Wheeler, a second from Assemblyman Miller. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, I just wanted to note one thing before we take the vote. Senator Kekeffer, you had mentioned the Stardust, and of all places, the Stardust was the first place that I ever played poker in the state of Nevada, and poker really brought me to Las Vegas. So I have very fond memories of the Stardust, and like you, I hope that this burgeoning industry will draw new folks to Las Vegas. Not so much for the gaming part of it, but as we all know, in Las Vegas and Nevada in particular, we have so many amazing things in this state. So I think the more folks we can get to come here, whether it's to participate in esports, whether it's to wager on esports, but we know, like most of us, once you get them here in the state, it can be really hard for them to leave. So I'm excited about this opportunity and appreciate you bringing the bill forward. Further discussion? Okay, I don't see further discussion. Again, the motion is to do pass. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Senator. Thank you again, Fatality. And I'm going to give the floor statement to Assemblyman Wheeler, who can do an Order of Business 15, pleading for a tournament in Lake Tahoe, to which hopefully we could all attend. So, thank you again. Okay, committee, that takes us through the bill on our agenda. The last item on our agenda, of course, is public comment. By way of reminder, we reserve up to 30 minutes of public comment at the end of each meeting. Public commenters will have 2 minutes to provide public comment. Public comment is a time to raise matters of a general nature within the jurisdiction of the Assembly Judiciary Committee. Anyone here in the room in Carson City who would like to give public comment? Looks like everyone is leaving us for other engagements or perhaps for lunch. BPS, could we go to the phone lines to see if there's any public comment there, please?
To provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. And we will begin with the caller with the last 3 digits of 815. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself and then slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good morning. This is James Carr, Jamescarr. And I have a general message today about a bill's intent versus its application. This message is inspired by Saturday's joint meeting for SB 452. When the legislature many years ago outlawed walking in streets where sidewalks are provided or required pedestrians to walk to the right side of crosswalks, or when municipalities outlawed open containers of alcohol in public, I'm sure the intent was to enhance safety. I doubt they planned for these violations to be used as excuses for police to stop people and conduct field interviews, or to get a foot in the door to investigate other alleged violations. With almost all statutes that pertain to a person's conduct in public, there's a risk of a law being used as a pretext for getting in people's business. And this type of police contact can lead to the kind of use of force incidents that have received extra attention in the news lately. I urge the legislature to be extremely cautious as it contemplates creating new crimes, such as with SB 452, that pertain to a person's conduct in public. Whether related to firearms, pedestrians, motor vehicles, alcohol, or other personal choices. These types of statutes will someday be used in circumstances that do not align with the safety-minded intent of the legislature. I hope to share this message with your colleagues on the Assembly floor who may favor SB 452 or any other bill that restricts a person's conduct in public. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment, Mr. Carr. BPS, is there anybody else for public comment this morning?
Chair, there are no other callers on the public line.
Thank you, BPS. I will close public comment. As always, thank you for your help managing the phone lines this morning. Committee members, anything else before we talk about the rest of the week? Okay, I don't see anything. I think that was a pretty exciting hearing for Assembly Judiciary, and I'm happy that we were finally able to be back together to hear a bill. We do, as you may know, have 4 bills in the committee right now, so we have an agenda for both tomorrow and Thursday. Those are 9 o'clock starts, and there'll be 2 bills on each day. I would just ask you to look at your email because as things are moving quickly in this building, there's always a possibility we may have to adjust the scheduling of those bills. We may have to group them all on one day. We may have to change the start time of the committee meeting. But for now, we'll plan to see you back here in this committee room at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and just because my mother told me, I wanted to inform you that today is National Wine Day. So if you do indeed partake, raise a glass to the hard work that we've done here in the Assembly Judiciary Committee. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day. This meeting's adjourned.